Hi there, this is Elizabeth, and welcome back to another episode of A Blessing in Divorce. Today's episode might feel a little bit different. I'm going to be a bit more direct than usual, maybe even a bit blunt. And I want to say this before we begin that this is coming from a place of love, from deep care, not judgment, no frustration. But because I see so many women struggling in this part of the process, and I know there's a better way to move through it. So if this doesn't land for you, that's okay. You're always free to take what feels helpful and leave the rest. There's a common question that I see over and over again, and it usually sounds something like this. I need a lawyer that doesn't cost too much, or do you know of a good lawyer who's not going to rip me off? Or something like that. There's a general mistrust when it comes to hiring an attorney for our divorce. We think they're going to overcharge us, rip us off, and any number of things. Just basically, they're going to cost us a ton of money. And I get it. Divorce is very expensive. Lawyers are expensive. This whole process can feel completely overwhelming financially. So I want to talk about the fear that we go through. I want to talk about the importance of having a lawyer. So let's get into this episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of A Blessing in Divorce. I am so grateful to be allowed into your headset and day today. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm the host of this podcast and the owner and founder of the Separation Club, which is the club you never wanted to be part of, but the best club to be in if you're going through separation and divorce. Here we talk about how to heal, move forward, and find love if you're so inclined. Also, motherhood through divorce, finding yourself, and creating the life you deserve. Our tools are community, sisterhood, honesty, vulnerability, spirituality, and coaching. And that's when we aren't talking to our experts. I'm also a divorced mother of 4 adult sons, remarried, and a stepmom to 3. So we will be talking about everything that goes with all of that here. If you are recently separated, thinking of separating, divorcing, or even beyond your divorce, but still feeling it, then this is the podcast for you. The whole conversation around the cost of divorce, which usually ends up being the cost of our legal team, so to speak, is a really tough place to go and a tough conversation to have. Generally speaking, we did not plan for this to happen in our lives. You might not be the one who was asking for the divorce, and even if you are, having to sink thousands into the end of your marriage, it just feels wrong in so many ways. And I understand all of that. But it's the reality. It's the way the system is set up these days. It's the way things are done. And we have to have a lawyer sign off on our divorce for it to be legal and all the things. In addition to that, if you're divorcing someone who is, toxic, narcissistic, controlling, any of those things, they are likely going to make it very difficult for you, and they're going to try to drag it out. It is often quite shocking how many of the people who initiate divorce for whatever reason are also the ones who tend to drag it out. They don't file, they don't submit their financial disclosures, whatever. And all of these things cost you money because you're the one that has to pay for your attorney to keep asking, keep sending emails, keep filing motions, etc. But here's what I want to share with you. That as much as lawyers are expensive, they're also necessary. And the biggest cost in divorce is not actually the lawyer itself or himself, herself. It's how we use them. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. You're paying for time. You're paying for every time they open your email and read it, every time they respond to your email, every time they send an email on your behalf or respond to an email on your behalf, every phone call, every detail you share. And this is where things start to get really expensive, especially when we bring our emotions into a space that is not designed to hold them. And I know how quickly this happens. When I first hired my lawyer, she was a lovely woman. She lived in my neighborhood. And on Friday, she worked from home. So instead of me having to go all the way down to her downtown office and pay for parking and all the things, I used to go to her home office on Fridays. It was perfect. And I'd get in there and she would ask me about my week and ask me what I was doing on the weekend and talk to me about my boys. And she was nice, and I don't think she did it on purpose to rack up the bill. But was I ever shocked when I received my first sort of monthly bill to see that she was making me pay for every single minute I spoke to her, every sentence of talking about the weather, and every sentence I talked about my ex, all the sharing of the stories of how awful he was being, of all the things that he had done that week, blah, 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 blah. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I paid for all of it. So I learned, and I want to share that with you today. There's so much we don't need to share with our lawyer. There's so much we don't need to say. And we can get really good at making the most of our time with them and not using them to fight our inner emotional fight, to validate us or any of those things. We don't need our attorneys to do that for us. That's what our friends are for. It's what our therapist is for. And it's what people like me are for. Your coach, somebody who will hear you and help you and guide you and costs a fraction of what it costs to have a lawyer work for you. An hourly rate for a lawyer these days typically is between $500 and $700 an hour. So you break that down. My math is not great. What that costs for 15 minutes. And I don't think there's a lawyer out there who doesn't charge at least 15 minutes to open and read your email and to send off a reply. So that's what, $125 minimum for 15 minutes? You see where I'm going with this. How would it feel if you had a place to go where you could maybe ask a general legal question and get an answer and not have to call your lawyer or contact your lawyer in the first place? So that's what I want to get into with you today. Because here's the truth, and I say this with so much love. Family court, your lawyer, they don't care about your story. It's not that they're mean or uncaring or just trying to get money off you. It's that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened between the two of you. Family court, at least here in Canada, does not care if your partner cheated. I don't know what it's like where you live. There are some states in the United States where it matters, but fewer and fewer. No fault divorce is generally how it goes kind of across the world right now. So family court does not care what he did. They don't care that your ex lied, that they hurt you, and that they've made your life really difficult. They don't care because it doesn't matter legally. Their job is to represent you legally, to help you understand what your rights are, what you're entitled to, what's worth fighting for and what's not. So sitting and going on about the awful things that your ex has done in the hopes that they will feel sorry for you and fight harder for you, it's not going to happen because they know what you're entitled to and they know what you're able to get. I've had so many family lawyers tell me that within the first consultation with a client, they know what you're going to get within a range. And the only thing they might be able to impact is if you go a little bit higher or a little bit lower on that range. But one also has to consider what you're spending to inch just a little bit higher. And there's no guarantees. While it matters what has happened to you, it doesn't matter legally. And that doesn't mean your story isn't valid. It doesn't mean your pain isn't real. It just means the courtroom and your lawyer's office and that email campaign they have going with your ex's lawyer is not where that part needs to get seen, and it's certainly not where it's going to be healed. And when we try to make it be that for us, when we try to bring that into it, it costs us emotionally and financially. So when you write an email to your lawyer to tell him or her about all the things your ex did on the weekend or didn't do and the things they said when you said this and they said that, well, instead of taking 15 minutes to read it and respond to it, it might take them 30 minutes. It's $250. You see where I'm going with this, right? And this is where I see so many women get caught and get stuck. Because of course you want fairness, justice, validation. You want someone to say, yes, what happened to you was wrong. But the legal system is not built for that. family court, not built for that. It's built to divide assets. Your marriage has now become a business transaction, and that's it. It's meant to determine numbers, to follow the law, to sort out parenting agreements, where the kids are on vacations and holidays, and that's it. And I know I learned this the hard way. As I shared with you earlier, my divorce dragged on. It costs more than I even want to admit for a variety of reasons. Not all of those were mine, but I certainly helped. And a big part of that was trying to make the process give me something it was never going to give me. So what can you do with this? You get strategic. You get clear. You start asking, what actually matters here? One of the things that I say to my clients all the time is you need to write a list of things you want. And then you need a list of your non-negotiables. There are many things that you'd be willing to negotiate on if it really comes down to it. And then there's those things you will not budge on. You need to know what each of those are. So when it comes up, you can give a little here, and then you can get a little more over there. Yes, you have to be that person. I promise you, your ex is being that person. So you need to know what matters to you. You need to know what you're entitled to. And remember, just, what you're entitled to is what you're entitled to. Again, it doesn't matter what they did. You're not entitled to more because they behaved badly, because they cheated, because they lied, none of those things. It's the same. The law is the law. So find out what you're entitled to, accept that, and make sure you get that. You start fighting for more than that, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you may not or probably won't win. So try to step back a little bit and take more of a bigger view or a bigger look at what's going on, and ask yourself questions like, where am I spending money that isn't moving this forward? And try to stop doing that. And separate your healing from your legal process. They both matter, but they belong in different places. And I can tell you, if there's one thing I got really good at, was separating those two. I focused on my healing, and basically every day, all day, that's what I did. I did a lot of inner growth and healing and so much amazing work as I rediscovered who I was, and all the things, as how everything was changing in my life, and I became very happy. On the other side, I had this very toxic, drawn out legal process, but I never let it get me down. It was just one of the things that I had to do. It was like a job, if you will. It was just this thing that was going on in my life, and I wasn't allowing it to interfere with my healing. But I certainly learned to separate the two so that I wouldn't be spending money on my lawyer in addition to my therapist and coach. So here's something to think about is, do you need to tell your lawyer every detail of what happened? It's only okay to do that if you're okay paying for it, and only if it actually impacts your case. Otherwise, that's not where that conversation belongs. Do you need to fight every single point, everything that happens, everything that they ask for, every little bit of flexibility? Or is it important to understand the range and make informed decisions within it? Because most of this lives within a range. And the fighting, it often just moves you slightly within that range at a very high cost. Sometimes the best decision is giving them what they want, let's say. And I know that's hard, and maybe they don't deserve it, but it doesn't matter, as I've explained. And it will give you peace to get this done. This is where you get your power back, not by fighting harder, but by thinking differently, by learning how to ask better questions, to understand the process, to make decisions without being led entirely by emotion. And I know that's not easy, but I also know it's possible. And this is exactly why I'm creating a call around this. And for those of you in my Facebook group, you might have seen me putting this in there. Because this part of divorce is where so many women feel overwhelmed, scared, and out of control. Not in a that they're spinning out of control, though they can feel that too, but also that somebody else is controlling their life. It's like we become puppets to our ex, our lawyers, financial people. It's really hard. All we're doing is running around collecting papers and numbers and trying to respond to emails. And it feels like so much because emotionally we're also going through so much. But you don't have to navigate it like that. I am going to be hosting a special call inside the Rising Sisterhood membership, specifically to walk you through this. This will be a bonus call. This will not be one of our usual calls. I am making this an extra bonus call. If you're already in the membership, you'll have access to this as part of what you're already receiving. And if you're not a member of the Rising Sisterhood membership, you can join us for $33 for that month. That gives you access to this call and the weekly support calls as well. And then you get to decide if you want to stay or not. I know you're worried about money right now, but I'll say this. If you're stressed about legal fees, this is probably the most important place you could invest a small amount of it. This is not the time to say, I can't afford that. You can't afford not to. Because if I can help you think about this a little differently, you're not just getting support, you're potentially saving yourself thousands of dollars. So this call is for you. If you want to feel more in control of your divorce, you don't know where to start, you feel overwhelmed by the legal process, you're tired of feeling like everything is happening to you, and this is not for you if you're looking for someone to fight your battle for you. And it is not for you if you're not open to seeing things differently. At the end of the day, this part of your life is asking you to step into a different version of yourself, one that can feel really hard. It's also asking you to think clearly, decide intentionally, and to move forward with strength. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do these things perfectly. You just have to be willing to start. You just have to be willing to say yes to learning, to taking steps and making decisions. This is one decision that you control. You decide if you want to get on this call. You decide if you want to learn from me and hear what I have to share with you. You decide if this is worth it for you, if this is something that matters to you. All you need to do is join the membership. The details are in the show notes. The call is happening on May 4th. May 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Our usual calls in the membership are on Tuesdays. So there'll be a call the very next day, which will be on something entirely different, much more in the healing category, a place where perhaps maybe I'll schedule a call where we can share our stories and validate each other's feelings. Like, I am not being sarcastic or kidding here. I know we all need that sometimes. I really do. And I want you to have that experience. And that's what we do in the membership. But I also know that getting through this part, it matters. And it affects how we heal and how we make decisions, really important decisions that affect us for a long time and our family. So I invite you into this call. It's happening on May 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Click the link below in the show notes to join the Rising Sisterhood membership. If you join as soon as you hear this episode, you will be entitled to the very next membership call. They happen on Tuesdays. And if you join just in time for this particular call that I've been talking about on May 4th, then you will be entitled to the next 4 weeks of membership calls. So either way, you're getting so much here. I look forward to seeing you on that call. I want to hear from you. Let me know that you're going to be on this call. If you are on the app, if you have the Rising Sisterhood app, you can jump into the community chat there and let me know that you'll be joining. So I look forward to hearing from you. And more than anything, I look forward to having this conversation with you in person, on a Zoom call on May 4th. And let's really get some work done, make some decisions. You can bring your specific questions. No, I am not a lawyer, but I can give you a lot of general legal advice, just how to manage this journey. The specifics of exactly, what kind of support you're entitled to, etc. I can't answer those questions. You will need your lawyer to answer those, but I can answer more questions than you probably think. So, will I be seeing you then? I hope so. And thank you for joining us for this call once again. I know that for so many of you who are listening, not only will it be helpful for you to join and hear what I have to say that day, but I also know more than anything, what will feel really good is being with others who have the same questions, who are dealing with the same things, and to support each other on that call. So come for you and come for the community as well. I look forward to seeing you on the 4th, if not sooner. And until next time, my friend, have a beautiful day.